I finally did it. After years of saving every spare dollar, after endless nights scrolling through real estate listings, I found my dream home. It wasn't some sprawling mansion. It wasn't perched on a tropical beachfront. It was something far better than that. It was a house with absolutely no homeowners association. Here's the twist in my little real estate fairy tale. My property was like a tiny island of freedom, completely surrounded by a sea of identical beige houses, all firmly controlled by the iron grip of the Crestwood Meadows HOA. I knew this before I signed anything. I studied the plat map carefully. My half-acre lot had been carved out long before the subdivision even existed on paper. I was grandfathered in, a lone wolf in a pasture full of very particular sheep. The first month was pure bliss. I painted my front door a bright, unapologetic fire engine red just because I could. I let my lawn grow a little longer than the neighborhood's putting green perfection. It felt glorious. My small sanctuary was peaceful until the delegation showed up. One Saturday morning, while I was out front splitting firewood for winter, 3 neighbors marched up my driveway like an official task force. I recognized a leader from a neighborhood Facebook group. Let's call her Karen. She carried a clipboard. A clipboard is never a good sign. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Good morning. We're from the Crestwood Meadows Welcome Committee. I leaned against my axe, wiped sweat from my forehead, and replied, Morning. Appreciate it, but I'm not actually part of Crestwood Meadows. Her smile tightened. Well, yes, technically. But since you're surrounded by us, we believe it's important to maintain a cohesive community aesthetic. She gestured toward my neatly stacked pile of firewood. For instance, our bylaws state that all firewood must be stored out of sight, either behind a fence or inside a shed. I looked at her, then at my woodpile, then back at her. Right, I said slowly, but I'm not in your community. Those bylaws don't apply to me. This is my property. One of the other neighbors, a man with a perfectly sculpted mustache, jerked his thumb toward my old pickup truck sitting on my gravel pad. And the rules prohibit commercial-style vehicles in driveways. I glanced at my 10-year-old Ford F-150. A little rust around the edges, sure, but it was my daily driver. It's not commercial, I replied, my patience thinning. It's my truck, and that's my driveway. Karen inhaled deeply, the kind of breath someone takes before delivering what they think is profound. We're simply trying to protect property values. Your situation brings down the entire neighborhood. I straightened up. My situation is that I own this land. I pay my taxes. I follow city and county laws. The aesthetic of your HOA is your responsibility, not mine. Have a nice day. Then I went back to splitting wood. The steady crack of the axe biting into the log was the only response I got as they stood there, stunned, before storming off. I assumed that would end it. I was wrong. The following week brought a collection of passive-aggressive notes tucked under my windshield wiper. Your lawn is unsightly. That truck is an eyesore. Please consider the community. I gathered them like strange, angry trading cards. But the grand finale came the next Saturday morning. I was in my backyard, sipping coffee in the sun. My property line extended about 30 feet into the wooded area behind my house, a fact I knew very clearly. Suddenly, I heard shouting. Karen stood at the edge of her pristine lawn, phone raised and recording. I'm calling the police. You are trespassing on community green space, she screamed. I nearly choked on my coffee. Karen, this is my yard. The property line runs another 20 feet behind me. She ignored me. We've had enough of your disrespect for this community. This is protected land, and you're damaging it. She continued filming, narrating dramatically for her invisible audience. I sighed, went inside, and waited. I knew exactly what would happen next. About 15 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up. A very tired-looking officer stepped out. Karen and her husband rushed to meet him, pointing theatrically in my direction as I walked outside. Officer, thank goodness you're here, Karen exclaimed. This man is trespassing on HOA land and refuses to leave. The officer looked at her, then at me. Sir, what's going on? I stayed calm. This was the moment I'd anticipated. Good morning, officer. This is my property. She's mistaken. Mistaken? Karen sputtered. We've lived here 10 years. We know where the community land is. I smiled. Officer, give me just a moment. I went inside and retrieved a folder from my desk. Returning, I handed him the documents. This is a copy of my deed and the official property survey from when I bought the house. As you'll see, my property line runs to that large oak tree back there, well beyond where I was standing. The officer reviewed the papers carefully. He walked to the edge of the lawn, compared the survey to the tree line, tracing the boundaries with his eyes. For a few long minutes, he studied everything. Karen and her husband stood with arms crossed. Smug smiles plastered on their faces. Finally, the officer returned and handed my documents back. Thank you, sir. Everything appears to be in order. Then he turned to Karen, his tone no longer patient but firm. Ma'am, this is not HOA land. This is this gentleman's private property. He may stand in his backyard, park his truck in his driveway, and stack his wood wherever he chooses, provided he isn't violating city ordinances, which he is not. Karen's jaw fell open. But the green space, the community aesthetic. The officer's expression hardened. Ma'am, you called 911 to report a trespasser on land you do not own. That constitutes filing a false police report, which is a misdemeanor offense. Do you understand? The color drained from her face. Her previously smug husband suddenly found the pavement fascinating. We were just concerned, she stammered. You were concerned enough to misuse city resources and harass this man on his own property. The officer replied, I'm issuing a verbal warning. If we receive another call like this, a report will be filed. Do you understand? She nodded silently. The officer gave me a slight nod, returned to his cruiser, and drove off. The silence afterward was sweeter than any victory I'd ever known. Karen and her husband avoided eye contact as they retreated to their identical beige house in what could only be described as a walk of shame. I picked up my coffee, slightly cold now, took a sip and smiled. I haven't heard a word from the HOA since. Every so often, I catch Karen peeking through her window as I load up my so-called unsightly truck or add another log to my perfectly visible woodpile. And every time, I give her a friendly little wave, because freedom, it turns out, is the best amenity of all. Thanks for watching today's story. If you have your own HOA nightmare, share it in the comments below. We'd love to read it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.